Now, a brand that I am obsessed with is Beverly Hills Lingerie, founded by Celine and Joline, two sisters, which is amazing. And they are joining the new Unfiltered today to talk about this incredible business, as well as their journey running a startup and being family in business. So, you guys, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so
Yes, thank you.
excited to dive into some fun topics.
I know. And what a cute name, Beverly Hills Lingerie. It's simple, but it gets right to the point. I would love to start off with you guys explaining how that name came about, and kind of which one of you makes these types of decisions.
Cute idea. It's a bit unconventional and something you probably didn't expect. And it has nothing to do with my dad and his work, but he discovered that Beverly Hills Lingerie was never trademarked, never used, never in business. And the business started with the name, really. It was something that was so relevant to us, so personal to us, being born and raised in Beverly Hills. And it just made sense to try to start something up.
Why lingerie? So my sister and I both express ourselves through fashion, and we love touching upon like our feminine side for sure. And lingerie was seen as such an, of course, like unconventional topic because we come from a very conservative community, and during the time of pre-launch for us about like 6 years ago, we were noticing so many women styling lingerie as outerwear. And we're like, you know what? We can turn this into something really cool and just brand lingerie as outerwear. So we trademarked our tagline, lingerie for a night in or a night out, with the sole desire of redefining lingerie.
Oh, how fun. Okay, great.
Yes, and we can get into that more, but that's kind of like the main gist of things of why we got into lingerie.
Yeah, and your guys' backgrounds prior to lingerie, would love for you to both go into that because I haven't honestly really ever been someone who's like super inside with like super in touch, I think, with that side of myself. Like it wasn't until I
Mhm.
got into my mid-20s that I even started purchasing lingerie or understanding that it's like, even something super sweet to do for yourself. So prior
Right.
to this, what were you both dabbling in?
Totally. It's definitely a bit intimidating. I like that you had that little personal anecdote. My sister and I we were very young. I was 18 when we kind of conceptualized the brand, and we were both at USC at the time. I was in undergrad and my sister had just graduated but had come back to TA in the MBA program and in the business undergrad program. She had 500 students. So we didn't get much time in the outside world with experience. We both had a few marketing jobs, a few PR jobs, which were great and taught us so much. And we learned a lot, but nothing specifically like in lingerie world or in like fashion or technical design, nothing that really could like be the main driver of Beverly Hills Lingerie. We really did everything on our own in terms of learning through experience. So that's like kind of an interesting part of how we started and part of
Ye
our brand.
Yes, because I know you see a lot of brand owners and people working in clothing who worked for a clothing company or whose parents were in clothing, and we really did not have, like, serious clothing experience. We just had marketing experience, PR experience, communication experience, and funny enough, my sister can tell you her story from going from pre-med to being a brand owner
Oh, I guess that's part of
in
my background,
lingerie, yes.
quote unquote, which is so funny. It's funny you ask because I still forget about that. For my whole like teenage to, pre-adult life, I wanted to be a doctor. So I went to USC pre-med. And once I was there, it just didn't fit right. It didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to do forever. And at the same time, like my sister kind of touched upon, we noticed girls trying to wear lingerie out. And this was like such a thing when I was starting as a freshman or sophomore. Now you see it in every like in ready to wear. So we got really lucky that the whole space kind of became saturated and popularized through the same time that we wanted to launch.
I also used to work in PR, not in LA, but in New York. So I'm very familiar with kind
The
of
PR world.
yeah, the PR world. And I can say it's amazing for when you start a business, but when you're working in it, it's rough, it's hard, it's cutthroat. it's edgy. And you said that you were doing it, was it pre-college or post-college?
I worked in PR post college for about 8 or 9 months, and I worked for a lifestyle PR company. So we touched upon like just a lot of different industries, from the CPG market to the hotel market to the car market. And it was really, really interesting and definitely a lot of fun. But the more and more I stayed in that industry, the more I realized I have more fun building a brand than I guess, promoting a brand. So that was just like part of the road of solidifying wanting to be a brand owner, if that makes sense. You
I
know, when
Yeah,
you're just
I get it.
pitching brands 24/7 and you're just like, wow, this is just the brand the brand as a whole is just such a cool thing to build and scale and that just really made me want to go into being a brand owner. And of course, working with family came so naturally and so easily. So that was even better.
Oh my gosh, that makes so
Yeah.
much sense. So the PR side, because you guys have gotten some really great hits, which I'm really inspired by and impressed by as a startup. Tell me about how you've been able to take that PR experience and build it out into Beverly Hills Lingerie. Like, what should aspiring founders know who want to start a business but don't necessarily have the PR background that you do?
To be honest, I mean, I didn't use any of the PR contacts that I had, like you're not allowed to at all. But what I did learn about PR is it should be less robotic and more relationship building. So if you're reading articles online and you come across an editor who speaks to you in a certain way and you like their writing style and you like what they believe in, you should just reach out to them and offer to send them some of your product, introduce them to the brand, invite them to events, and just get them really familiar and comfortable with you and the brand. And I think that's like sometimes what people lose touch on. It's, you can't just be
Yes.
sending this copy paste, pitch to 50 people and expect them to not feel like it's a robot behind it, you
Totally,
know?
totally. I have
You
to
have
say
to just create a
our
relationship.
organic our organic Vogue hit was a year-long relationship with the Vogue
Yes.
founder. That wasn't easy. That wasn't like an email away. That was like a year of talking and really getting her familiar with the brand and with us, its founders. And I think people expect editors to be a little more robotic, like my sister said, and not be as willing to showcase something that they have like a personal relationship to, a personal investment in, and that really appeals to them that way. So I think that that's something that isn't really learned by working in PR. Like PR interns are the ones that are sending those robotic like copy paste pitches to people on email or wherever they find them, LinkedIn. And this sort of relationship based way of connecting with editors for organic PR hits. That's not something you can find with PR agencies. We've never hired a PR agency, and we're super proud to say that all of our hits have been super organic, super relationship based. And yeah, I think there's just something that's more special between a brand founder and an editor versus a middleman as if, like a PR agency kind of reaching out to editors and introducing to them a brand that they do every day, day after day. They're just like being thrown brands in their faces. So I think, yeah, like I said, I think it's really special to have the brand founder to editor relationship.
And,
I agree. I
and
like that you say that, nurturing those relationships, inviting them to an event or inviting them to see something.
yes,
I have found that face-to-face interaction when building a brand, it's
it's
undeniable.
gold.
Yes. And it's intimidating. So I'm curious. I've, run a startup for years on my own. And then I did have a co-founder for a while and, kind of went back as we split parts and working together. But I can tell you that one of us was always really good at the face to face. And I would say that, then someone may not be as good at that. So how have you guys managed to streamline the workflow while building this brand?
That's an interesting question. So we are actually 5 years apart. So we are in a little bit of a different generation. We definitely have different like skill sets when it comes to the trendy techie stuff versus, the newest trends. And I really owe that to my sister. She's very, very, very on top of like just the whatever is current date, like whatever people are doing to promote their brands, or the stores, or the, the influencers, the models, just everything day to day. She's so amazingly good at, of course. So it was very easy, I guess, for us to kind of split our responsibilities with the brand, like when it came between like email marketing or being on Zoom or versus being in person or doing content creation or doing outreach. Like it all really flowed naturally based on just the skill sets that we had generationally, and then just also personally, of course.
Noted. Okay, so would you guys say that figuring out that work stream took a little bit of time? And the reason I asked this is because I have a good friend, and I saw him yesterday, and he has a startup also based in LA and a co-founder, and he was talking about how his co-founder constantly almost like wants to do everything, and he has to say like, look, the goal of scaling a brand is that we are able to hire people to do the other stuff so you and I can focus on our streams of work. So I'm curious if that was like more natural for you guys or something you really had to sit down and be like, okay, Celine's going to do this, Jolina's going to do this, and then we're going to hire and outsource for everything else.
Well, I can
Good
say
question. I think for me, I think like you have the same interests, and we're sisters, so maybe it's different between business partners who aren't family, but my sister and I both know that we have the same interests for Beverly Hills Laundry, the same goals to make it grow. Like whatever each of us need to do that to achieve the same goal of success. I don't think we get like offended by, or we're like, no, that's not your sector, or like, don't worry about that. Like we can hire for that. I think whatever you can do in your capacity, for me at least, like that that really just goes further towards your goals. So I don't have, thankfully, at this moment, we don't have a problem with workflow and stream like that. And in the beginning of founding a business as startups, you really do have to do everything. That's not like the moment that you
yes.
hire for everything until, unless you fundraise or until you fundraise. And then you do start allocating that toward employees and hiring people for your weaknesses. I think that you definitely do everything yourself. Like that is the definition of an entrepreneur. It's knowing how to do everything A to Z in the brand. And that's how it really flows. Because if you get to a point in like 5 or 10 years, or if your friends or whoever it is gets to a point in 5 or 10 years where they didn't actually know how to do something that they hired for, but they should have taught themselves how to do that. I'm not saying that my sister and I are going to teach ourselves how to code, like whatever within your capacity or realm, then it could be an issue, because as an entrepreneur, you really have to like be everywhere, everything, all at once, all the hands. You need to have like octopus tentacles to reach everything and do everything.
And
Octopus tentacles. That's the perfect way to explain it.
it is. And I've always, all the business owners around us that I admire, and then all of the incredible like Fortune 500 founders that I admire, they really were so in touch with their like target demographic. They were their own target demographic. So they really could understand the needs of the customer, and they felt so in touch with that, and it could really show. So I think one of the most important things for us is just really understanding kind of like the mindset behind the target customer, if that makes sense. It's just very, very, very important.
And how though with this kind of space, because it's so intimate with the customer, like how
Yes.
did you even figure that out? How did you figure out exactly what it is that your customer wants?
A lot
Trial
of
and error.
product testing.
Yeah, trial and error. You just keep trying.
You keep trying, you host a lot of events, you do a lot of pop-ups, you listen to what people are saying when they're purchasing things, you listen to, "Oh, do you have this in white? Do you have this in red? Does this run small? Does this run big?" So, you just have to do so many things all at once, and I don't think there's like a perfect recipe in understanding your customer. I think it's like 50 different things at once. And that's the best way to have, like, a full, understanding.
Yeah.
And it really grows over time. I mean, the laundry industry changes. Every industry is just, like, evolving and changing overnight. You have to be ahead or else you're behind.
You do. And how do you compete with brands? I mean, like you mentioned Victoria's Secret earlier, and then one brand I love is actually called Fleur de Mal, I think.
Yes, Fleur du
Well, yes,
Mal.
our
Oh, we're a
favorite.
huge fan of the founder. We've met her before. She's incredible.
No, I have to say, I honestly think the quality has gone down significantly.
Oh,
started.
That's so
interesting.
interesting to say, but I've heard that from a lot of friends when it comes to basically every fashion brand. I was just on a girls' trip in Vegas and we were just shopping around during the days, and almost every single store we went into, except the high-end designers, we were picking up these clothes and we're like, was this the quality of this brand like 3 years
No,
ago?
that's
And the
sometimes
answer is
how you
no.
scale. That is how some of these brands have to scale, quote unquote. It's like first you attract and hook your customers, and then
Right.
once they're hooked and you need to start making money, you keep shrinking your margins
Mm.
or
And
growing your margins, shrinking your costs. So
but
that's what happens.
I do also have to say, not to blame COVID for everything that went wrong in everyone's lives for the past few years, but I definitely think a lot of people had to reap a lot of losses in COVID and had to cut their quality. A lot of clothing brands had to do that, cut their quality and raise their prices and, just stuff like that. And I think for the brands that have been around for a while, I don't know if people notice as much of a quality drop.
Exactly,
We
exactly.
personally, like, as a
Did the
brand owner and
opposite.
as
We did
yeah,
the opposite.
yeah, the people that work in clothing, like my sister and I are and everyone else, we really can feel something and remember what it felt like a few years ago. But if you're not in clothing and you're not, picking up materials all day every day, I don't know if that many people can notice that much of a quality shift in a lot of brands, and most all brands, to be honest.
But would you say that that's an acceptable, I don't wanna say excuse, but would you say that that's like an acceptable perspective to have? Is like,
No, that's
No,
scamming.
not at
That
all.
is that is what you call scamming. That is what
Yeah, not at
how
all,
you
especially because
attract an audience to fall in love
yes.
with your brand and your quality, and then you kinda slowly, like, change it on them, and restaurants do this too. It's like how you hook customers, because you can't hook customers with, like, low quality items for high prices. But you can hook them with, like, something that sounds good, but they're not but these brands or restaurants or whatever aren't making money. They'll take a loss for that first year or 2, just to make sure that the quality is good and they're giving everything, and that's, like you hear this when brands start, they, like, give away or restaurants or whatever it is, companies start, and they give away so much for free, and they're taking losses at first, just so when they want to scale, they can kind of like explode those margins and do whatever they need to do after they have like a whole email list and a whole customer base and people that follow and people that are loyal to just shopping from them.
And I do have to say, in terms of like excusable and acceptable when it comes to lowering the quality of things, I think the main issue is people are raising prices and lowering quality. When if you want to lower the
Right.
quality, it has to be like a flash sale. It can't be double the price and half the quality because that's not even a good product market fit or like a product price fit. And I think some of the most amazing brands I know, like Skims, for example, I'm a huge Skims fan. And everything about Skims is just like, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people I've spoken to, is a perfect product price fit. I mean, the quality is exceptional and the price is normal. The price is totally reasonable.
Let's
So,
hope things don't change.
yeah, let's hope so.
yeah.
Skims, if you're listening, please take note. You have a lot of fans.
No, that's super cute. But it's so different because, in the sense of like, she obviously had the name and the following prior to starting that brand and the
Yeah.
money. I mean, at the end of the day, and I don't know the financials behind scams, but I would be curious in the sense of like, okay, if is the company even super profitable or is she able to keep,
Right.
obviously people still love the brand and it seems like it gets obviously tons and tons of purchases, I would say daily, but I would be
Yeah.
curious about that because it's different than a startup. And I know a lot of people will say like they're self-made, the Kardashians, but it's very different. You have to be stupid to say they're self-made because it puts you on a different level than someone who's able like didn't have the money
Someone without a
at the scale.
following or without the capital, of course.
Yeah. So what would you say from both of you being in the space? What do you like so much about Skims?
I personally, I just absolutely adore the quality.
Okay.
I give the quality like an 11 out of 10.
Yeah, you could
Um,
wash your wife beater tank top. I don't know if we're still saying that word. Your
yes.
tank top, your ribbed cotton tank top.
I'm
Uh,
wearing it right now.
you can wash it like 100 times and nothing happens to it, right? Well,
Yes.
wear it
It's
over
like
and over and it doesn't fall
yes.
apart, it doesn't get ruined in the
Yes.
wash.
Yes, it's like the perfect amount of stretch, the perfect amount of lift, the perfect colors, like nothing's itchy, nothing's uncomfortable, nothing digs into your skin. And I also think she does a really good job with the sizing. I would say like the small is generous, you know what I mean? So I think when you do stuff like that, I mean a lot of brands really stay true like an XS runs super small, but I think for Skims I would say like the extra small and the medium all run a little bit bigger.
Well,
And I
because
think
they
that
have the bigger size range. That's the whole thing
yes.
behind Agreed and all of her brands with like Good American and everything that they do extra, extra small to extra, extra large. But a lot of brands can't afford that much size range.
No, but even beyond that, I think their items run like a touch more generous in their sizing. You know what I mean?
That makes
Like
you
the
feel good.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
so
I
you're not
honest
like you're like, "Oh, like I'm bigger than this," you know?
yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's like a huge thing, especially in our, lifestyle here in America and obviously in other parts of the world. But I think in to keep up with the American standard in terms of like the media and just like the feminine standard. I don't even know how to put this all into words properly, but it's definitely a lot to keep up with. Body image and body confidence and size and shape and form and all of that stuff. I think it's like just a huge defining force in our life, and I think a lot of brands have to stay, up to par with the standards and how they make people feel and the emotions they inflict when they sell clothing.
What is the long-term goal for Beverly Hills Lingerie? Where do you want to see this brand go?
Oh, good question. I think lingerie is such an intimate purchase. It's something that someone really wants to feel like the emotion behind and they want to feel it and try it on and see how it makes them feel. So with that said, I think retail will always be a good place for Beverly Hills Lingerie and for lingerie in general. And I know people have mixed reviews and mixed feelings on the future of retail and where retail is now. I just think I certainly see lingerie as being either like a last minute purchase or like a, a gift or something someone needs, when they're feeling good. It's like, "Oh, I'm feeling sexy tonight," and and to talk about like the 28 days of like a woman's cycle, like there are some days you feel sexier than others and you don't have to,
Yes.
like go out and grab lingerie for yourself or your partner or whoever it is that specific day and you want to like try on a bunch and see how they make you feel. It's an emotional purchase. So definitely see us being in stores, and that's kind of what we're working toward. And we don't have an exit strategy. We think Beverly Hills Lingerie will always be our baby and something that we'll forever work on together as sisters. And it's just so important to us in our sisterhood. So yeah, that's definitely the future for us.
Well, you guys are remarkable, and I am truly just so impressed with the progress you've made and even the collaborations you've done. I know it didn't end up coming to fruition, but I had seen initially you guys were doing an event with like Locks Club, and I think some of those strategic partnerships can be really, really fabulous with a
Yes.
startup. In that capacity, was that like a cold pitch when you're wanting to collab or like give a celebrity or something product? Are you cold pitching them?
Good question. And we did actually, I know you're talking about the Locks Club event that didn't end up happening, but we had two really successful ones with them in 2020 and 2021, I believe. One at New York,
Yes.
City, one in Beverly Hills. And we had like hundreds of people lining the block for those, and they were awesome. And that was kind of like an unconventional collaboration and something that like we thought and they thought could be so different and cool and like different kinds of people and different kinds of customers just like coming together and to learn more about each other's brands and just have fun while doing it. With these kinds of collaborations, I think that they kind of start with the relationship, which is interesting. You ask if it's like a cold email because they're so random or unconventional. I think they usually start with the relationship. Like we'll randomly forge like a social relationship with someone who has something that doesn't have to do anything with Beverly Hills Lingerie. And then we'll be like, let's try to find a way to bring these two together, whether it's an event or something like a giveaway online or something like that. So I think it's the opposite direction of what you imagine.
But what's interesting, I also would like to say, I think living in LA, like everyone is just kind of like a phone call or a text away through somebody else. Like there's like 1 degree of separation from everywhere you kind of want to be. And that's what we always think about. We're like, we have to think about who we knows that knows the person that we want to be in touch with. And at the end of the day, everything that we do is meant to be, I mean, all the collaborations we do is meant to be a partnership. So, win-win on both ends. So when you really look at it that way, you know that you're also such an asset to the people that you're working with. So it feels less of a cold call and more of like what my sister said, relationship building, and then definitely a partnership where it's like we do this for you, you do this for us, and this is how we grow together. And when you look at it that way, I think it's, a lot more feasible to do, and it doesn't feel as much out of reach, if that makes sense, or random.
Yeah,
Like a collaboration with a dating app doesn't feel as random when, the people on the dating app want to buy lingerie and the people in lingerie want to go to a dating app party.
Exactly.
So it feels unconventional, but it all kind of comes full circle, which is cool.
certainly. It's those strategic partnerships that can really make or break a brand. And also
Yes.
it's free press, right? It's free PR. So there's no
Yes.
Totally.
to not put yourself in front of someone or even send that cold pitch. I guess my last question for both of you would be, what is one piece of advice you have for a founder who is looking to break into the fashion, clothing space? Everything that you guys have learned that, they should know before they launch.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, we can each give our advice. Go ahead, sis.
Huh.
It's hard to kind of put it into, one
Yeah,
piece
I'd
of
say
advice.
to know the statistics of a successful brand so you don't get unmotivated or something in the first like couple years. And to like and kind of like don't be naive. It sounded like you weren't, Alexa, when you asked like, I wonder if Skims is even profitable. Like to know this kind of stuff in the nature in this industry will really help you like keep going and not feel unmotivated if you're like spending so much and like revenue is good but you're still not profitable and you still can't break even or something like that. um I think my other two pieces of advice that I love to give are collaborate, don't compete, and that kind of speaks to our last conversation, and that empowered women empower women. And those two kind of go hand in hand, of course. But to really just be a good person with good morals and good values, and you'll get where you want to be, and you'll forge the right connections and the right relationships to take you there.
Ah, I love it. I think that
Yeah.
a perfect note to end on. Where can everyone find you guys on social media? Get something from the brand, any stores. I don't know if you guys are actually in any stores yet, but where could someone get something?
Oh, thanks for asking. We're not in physical stores, but you can find us on some e-commerce retail platforms. It's beverlyhillslingerie.com, at Beverly Hills Lingerie on Instagram, Shop BHL on Twitter and TikTok. And please connect with us if there's anything any of you listeners really enjoyed hearing about or want to hear more about or just want to chat about. Please DM us.
We'd love to chat. We love to give our experience and our advice and connect people and share information. We really keep it real, and we wouldn't be where we were or where we are now without the support and the love and the guidance from so many amazing female entrepreneurs around us who really took the time to, I guess, like tell us some of their little secrets and stuff like that.
I always look back over my career and I can think of like 1 to even 5 people who just really were there on the best times, worst times, and I always think those are the best people, not only to stay in touch with, but to just go back to and ask for advice and for questions to get answers to, because those are the people who really believed in you when the brand was nothing, right?
Exactly, exactly. And it really meant so much. I really do wholeheartedly say we would not be where we were um, at the beginning of our brand without the support of all of the people around us. Because we really, really hustled. But, despite the hustle and the two of us just sitting there and wanting to work like 12-hour days, there were the most amazing, supportive people around us that just loved what we were doing and loved the brand. And it really propelled us to be where we are now.
Ladies, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on this. And everyone who's listening, go check out Beverly Hills Lingerie. I have everything in the show notes as well, so you guys can go and not only follow them on social media, but grab an item. Obviously, the holidays are coming out, so anything you can do with small businesses helping out definitely keeps these companies growing and doing as amazing as they already are. So thanks again, you guys, so much for coming on, and to everyone listening. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The New Unfiltered. We'll be back next week with another fabulous guest, and I'll keep you guys all posted on the move to London. So have an amazing rest of your week.